What's going on, y'all? It's been it's been a wild ride, hasn't it? But we're gonna go ahead and get into it. 4 months, the leftist establishment has been telling Republicans that they have absolutely no right, no moral high ground to talk about Graham Platner. His accusations were dismissed. People who criticized him were mocked, and the story was just treated like another partisan attack, another bifurcated attack against the left. And of course, we know that that's not true. But then something changed. And it wasn't the allegations. It was who started making those allegations. And so in this episode, we're going to look at why his campaign collapsed, what the withdrawal means, and what this entire episode says, among other episodes, but what this episode says about politics today in America. So let's get after it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where faith in God is the standard and masculinity is not toxic. Today is Thursday, July 9th, in the year of our Lord 2026. And we have a lot to get into, and I don't know, as usual, if I'm going to get to it all. But before we get started, as always, real quick, hit like, subscribe, share, do all the algorithm things that we really appreciate when you do. Help us to escape the algorithm and help us break free from that so that we can get the word out to as many people as we possibly can. And this show, the Mission Ready Men Briefing, is also on the Mission Ready Men Briefing channel. Separate from SHR, same show, same content, same everything. But we would really appreciate it if you would check us out there as well. Do all the algorithm things over there, like, subscribe, share, comment, all of it. We would really appreciate it. All right, so let's get into this because there, like I said, there's a lot to get into. So Graham Platner, former Senate candidate in Maine, has dropped out. And the guy with the Nazi tattoo, the guy with all these allegations, including a brand new one of rape, decided that the structures just weren't working for him anymore or something. This guy, he won his primary, just to recap, he won his primary with 72% of the vote. Despite all the scandals that came out prior to that, despite all of that, they just ignored them. They ignored all of that until a Democrat came forward and made some accusations. Then that was a bridge too far. And they've said as much. They didn't have a problem with this evil degenerate, which is what he is, until it was inconvenient, until it got in the way of defeating Susan Collins. They will talk. I mean, they say all the time, vote blue no matter who. Unless voting blue means you won't win. Unless the candidate that they put forward is not viable. And they didn't hesitate. Once this came out, they did not hesitate to throw him under the bus. Sanders, Khanna, Warren, all of them couldn't wait to throw him under the bus once this latest allegation came out. And he doesn't seem to care. And he's taking absolutely no responsibility for it, which we'll get into. Like I said, abuse allegations, Nazi tattoos, not a big deal. Praise for Hamas, praise for Antifa, mocking of rape victims, mocking of military casualties, fantasies about raping someone. But he's just a quirky oyster farmer who is the voice of the people or something. But it took an accusation of rape from a Democrat to finally get them to see the light, I guess. And he dug in for a minute. He said, if I'm going to drop out, I get to pick my successor. Well, dude, you have absolutely no leverage. None. And he clung to it like a tick, dug in. He finally folded. Let's take a look at some of, he rambled on for about 11 minutes in this video. And it's just pathetic. We're obviously not going to play the whole thing, but let's take a look at this.
Hey everyone, it's Platner here. I think as many of you know, over the past couple days, I have faced some very serious allegations, and I just want to make it clear, this is all false. The things that have been claimed did not happen. It's not real.
Of course it didn't happen. Like he would ever admit to it.
It has placed an immense amount of weight on me as I think about what needs to happen now.
Me. I. Typical narcissistic, non-apology. I mean, this could have been written and delivered by any leftist, but let's continue.
Amy and I are regular people. We were not looking for this experience. We were not looking to get into politics.
Yet you filed all the paperwork, hired all the campaign staff, did everything that is necessary to run a campaign, and you weren't interested in it? Come on.
We had no desire to run for office.
Liar.
I just want you to think about like what you would do as a regular person in a position where a much larger...
Not commit a heinous crime. That might be a start. Just tossing that out there.
World. Large forces were working against you personally to accuse you of the worst thing that a person could do and it was not remotely true. I learned about this through press inquiries with no time to truly respond, no time for investigations before a corporate media system and the political establishment got to act as judge, jury, and executioner.
He is playing the victim as well as anyone. And he takes absolutely no responsibility for it. He takes no responsibility whatsoever for what's happening to him, even though he brought it all on himself. It's fascinating to watch this because it's the same playbook. It was the same playbook with Swallowell, Gallegos. Pick a leftist with a scandal like this, and it's the same speech. It's the same lack of responsibility, lack of self-awareness. All of it. It's fascinating to watch because they're just so in lockstep with each other that they're mirror images of each other. It's amazing. His later on in that speech, he talked about the forces that were arrayed against him, and the what was the word he used? Structures, the structures that were working against him, or something like that. Just everything external to him. And let me just say this: if this accusation had come out of nowhere, if there hadn't been anything even remotely close to this, and then all of a sudden this came out, then maybe I could see that. But this dude from the very beginning, has had scandal after scandal, woman after woman come forward and talk about how much of a creep he is, how abusive he was, his own words on social media, all of it serves to, when there's finally, I guess, a credible enough accusation from the right side of the aisle, that is what was enough to push it over the edge. But come on. They embraced this dude with a Nazi tattoo, a self-described communist, and abuse allegations. They embraced this dude until it became clear that everything was lining up against him to the point where he wouldn't be able to win. And then once it became clear he couldn't win, then it was time to kick him to the curb. McKaylee 3284, I hope I pronounced that right, said Platner is a psychopath. Yes, he is. He absolutely is. All of the evidence points to that. And so what now? What now? What now for the party? What now for the race? The party is going to have to figure some stuff out because, and I think they largely have. I don't think they're going to course correct on this. I think they are going to double, triple, and quadruple down on the far left communist wing of the party. They're just going to have to, and I can't even say they're going to have to vet better, because they vetted this guy and all of this stuff came out. All of this stuff came out from the beginning, and they just didn't care. So I guess the only thing is they're going to have to just make sure that their far left candidates don't abuse people. I think that's the bar. I think everything else, according to them, is okay. Just don't abuse people. Don't abuse women. Oh, yeah, people, because we saw what happened with Katie Porter in California. She dumped hot mashed potatoes on her husband, and she came in what, 6th or 7th place in that primary. So yeah, I think that's the bar. Don't hurt people. Don't assault people. I think I think that is it, which is just, I don't even know. I mean, that's just sad. But let's take a look at what they have to pick somebody by July 27th. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be any kind of primary process, because democracy only counts when, I guess, conservatives are threatening it somehow. But let's take a look at Shenna Bellows, who has thrown her hat in the ring. Actually, this clip is about something else. Before this clip, she basically said she's considering running, and I think since this came out, she has said she's going to run. But let's take a listen to what she has to say here.
Okay, so that's very clear. You answered one of my questions, which is, are you leaning towards it? You just did. Okay, so that is very loud and clear. You want to be that candidate. President Trump was just asked, Secretary, a couple moments ago about Platner, and he commented. I just wanted to play for you what he said in light of what you just said about the women who are accusing him of assault. Here's the president.
It's very interesting. When a Republican woman came out with the same charge, nobody believed her. When this woman came out, everybody believed her, right, Doug?
Now, Secretary, to be clear, the earlier allegation was about an arm twisting and leaving marks, so it wasn't the exact same charge. It was.
Does that really matter, especially given this guy's history? Does it really matter? That should have been among a host of other disqualifying things in his past, but not for the commies on the left. And someone in the chat said that if you think these people are communists, you don't know Democrat. Okay. Oh, here it is. Anyone who thinks the Dems have a communist wing either don't know Dems, doesn't know communists, or does and is being deceitful. I'm using their own words. He is a self-described communist. He said it himself. You look at the DSA website, and all of the people who are in charge of all the chapters, they have said, and I have played on this show, communism is the goal. But I'm being deceitful, I guess. Ridiculous. Anyway.
Was, however, disturbing. It was unsettling as it was described. But what do you say to the president about what he's saying, which is that the woman who's accusing him now of actual rape does believe in Graham Platner's politics, is a Democrat, and that is the allegation which appears to have been the straw that broke the camel's back?
This president, who's been engaged in assault on a woman and found guilty in court, has no right to weigh in on this race, and we will defeat him in November.
this is a common refrain from these lunatics. He was found liable for sexual assault against E. Jean Carroll. Somehow, the woman who couldn't remember what year it happened, couldn't remember what she was wearing, couldn't remember anything about it other than it happened. I have interviewed victims of sexual assault. I know personally victims. They remember everything. E. Jean Carroll famously said, and I don't know if I actually have the clip because I just watched it, but she said she thought rape was sexy. And somehow a jury found in favor of her after 30 years. Come on. Come on. Just stop. Anyway. They embraced this guy until he was no longer viable. And he was no longer viable because, not because of these allegations, but because his poll numbers were such that it looked like he was not going to be able to defeat Susan Collins. That's it. I guarantee that if his poll numbers were still high enough to where it looked like he was going to beat Susan Collins, the American Pravda would have buried this and dismissed it just like they did everything else. There is nothing anyone can say to convince me otherwise. So we're in this situation. We as a country, not just the state of Maine, not just with this Platner situation, but as a whole, we are in this situation because Christians have retreated. They have largely stayed out of the public discourse. They have stayed out of the political discourse. And that is not what we're called to do. And as long as we stay on the sidelines, stuff like this is going to continue to happen. As long as we stay in our shells, as long as we stay in our little bubbles and don't speak out, don't vote. A lot of Christians don't vote for some ridiculous reason. This is going to continue to happen, and it's going to continue to snowball. And we're going to get into a little later another aspect of this, and just as scary and just as dangerous as letting the communists and the DSA and all of these people get a foothold and get power. Graham Platner is out of the race. There's going to be another one, whether it's Shenna Bellows or any of the other candidates that they're looking at. They're all just as left wing as Platner. And even though he's gone, the lesson is still there. And the lesson is that you cannot trust these leftists who tell you that character matters, even though, like Sonny Hostin said, they will hold their nose and vote for the scumbag because he has the right politics. you can't trust these people who suddenly, when there's finally an allegation from the right person, then all of a sudden, well, yeah, I can't hold my nose anymore, even though Sunny Hostin basically said she still would. And a few other people have said they still would vote for him regardless. And even his victim said that his videos get her fired up because of his politics, which is a whole other issue that I'm going to stay away from for the time being. But yeah, we need to pray for Maine. We need to pray for this country. We don't need any more. We don't need any more pragmatic evil wearing progressive costumes. We need people of righteous courage to stand up and take an active role in shaping this country and bringing it back to its Judeo-Christian roots. Because the alternative is New York City on a national scale. And I don't know about you, but I want absolutely no parts of that. All right. Before we move on, let's get a word in from our sponsor. And our sponsor for today's show is Patriot Mobile. And big corporations, they will spend your money pushing agendas that you absolutely stand against, don't believe in. They do it every single day. That's why we switched to Patriot Mobile, because they are America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, and they actively support the values and the causes that we fight for here every day. So go to patriotmobile.com, use promo code Jackson, patriotmobile.com/Jackson, and get a free month of service, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson. Put your money where your principles are. All right, something else, something that we haven't talked about a whole lot on this show, but now that the preliminary hearings for the trial have started, we're going to get into it a little bit. The preliminary hearings for Charlie Kirk's assassin have started, and the conspiracy theories from the candy cult and all of the other people who are pushing these ridiculous lies are back in the news cycle. They never really left, but I just didn't address a lot of it like some people do. It's because it's just, most of it was just so stupid and demonic and just way out in left field. And we're going to get to some of the things that were said, but I probably don't need to, but I will anyway. Recap Charlie Kirk. He was speaking at UVU and was tragically killed. And wow, just a horrific scene. And now that his accused and confessed killer is in court, there are people still pushing, insisting on some of the most ridiculous conspiracy theories that just defy all logic and reason. It's just insane. But we're going to take a look at some of the most ridiculous ones and test them against actual evidence. And then we're going to mock her ruthlessly. Because the only way to deal with these demons is to, beyond praying for them, which we do, is to just ridicule them into oblivion. And Candace Owens, some of her theories, some of her theories are just beyond parody, just utterly ridiculous. She says he's a patsy. She's saying that she has floated the idea that that it was his mic that exploded, that was rigged to explode. She's floated the idea that there was a trap door and the assassin shot him through the trap door. Israel was involved. French legionnaires were involved. Egypt was involved. His widow and his friends authorized it. All of this was done. And some of these conspiracy theories conflict with each other. But all of it was done for her to make money. And for a few months after this, and she was floating all this stuff, and her cultists were buying into it and defending all of the most ridiculous. Just it defies logic and boggles the mind. Some of the things she even said that he was a time traveler. Now, if you believed all of the other stuff, if you believed all of the other so-called evidence that she was so close to revealing, if you believed all of that, and then you heard her say that Charlie Kirk told her he was a time traveler, that should have negated everything coming out of her mouth before and after. Because that's just insane. And people, if you look at the comments on some of her posts where she talks about this stuff and comments under her videos, I believe that there are people out there who will die defending her saying some of this stuff. It's utterly insane. But all of the stuff that she was saying, it distracts from actual justice, and it erodes all trust, and does harm to the very organization that Charlie Kirk dedicated his life to building. And I think it all stems from the fact that she's just jealous that he chose Erica over her. It is beyond obvious that she still is in love with Charlie Kirk. And all of this stems from jealousy. And then you add on to that her postpartum psychosis, and that's just a recipe for disaster, which is what we've seen from her over the past 10 months. But she claimed that Tyler Robinson was never on campus. Surveillance footage shows him on campus. He was identified, and I watched the interview of his roommate / lover, and his roommate / lover identified him from surveillance photos of him on campus. His mother identified him from the surveillance videos of him on campus, but she said he was never on campus. She said that he was never on the roof. He didn't have roof access, blah, blah, blah. And the videos from even before, the videos that were released right after this whole thing clearly showed all of this and contradicted her nonsense. His DNA was found on the towel that the rifle was wrapped in. The shell casings that had The messages engraved that the roommate / lover said that he made using a Dremel that he gave him. He admitted to it in text messages, which were read. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have the text messages, but they read his text messages in court where he admitted to it. His roommate / lover, furry, said that he admitted to it to him. And all of this stuff, or a lot of this stuff, was already out in the public sphere. And Candace Owens, for whatever reason, whatever psychosis she was suffering from, still ran with all the conspiracies. This preliminary hearing is, and she claims that Erica Kirk was involved in in this murder. And she filed a brief today saying that she wants everything. She doesn't want anything redacted. She wants the entire proceeding open to the public. Would someone who was actually involved want that? Of course not. Oh my goodness. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. So the videos of him on campus directly contradict her conspiracy theory. There were no tunnels. The mic wasn't rigged. The trajectory of the bullet matches the distance from the sniper's net. I mean, all of the evidence points to him. And let's not forget, he admitted to it. He admitted to it. Why would he admit to it? And why would he admit to it and not maintain his innocence if he didn't do it? If he was a patsy? Why would his father turn him in if he didn't do it? If he didn't admit to his parents that he did it like he did? Why would his mother identify him in the videos? It doesn't make any sense. And if Charlie Kirk was such a good friend to her, if she was such a good friend to him, why would she be doing everything she possibly could to exonerate the guy who admitted to killing her alleged best friend? Well, the answer is obvious. I mean, it's the Jews, right? Or is it the French legionnaires? Or is it the Egyptians? Or was it Erica? Or was it Andrew and Blake? I lost track. But so did she. She lost track of all of her lies. The grift was exposed like you would not believe. And Nathan Livingstone of Milk Bar TV, he put together a nice compilation. It's almost 6 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'm going to give you a taste so that you can just see what we're dealing with this bint.
I certainly didn't suspect Turning Point USA would be as I believe, involved in a cover-up. It doesn't necessarily mean they were involved in plotting to kill him. And I've never said that. Cam Higbee is on the payroll of Turning Point USA, the very organization that just had its leader assassinated in broad daylight in front of the entire world. What about his burial? How come we haven't seen anything about his burial?
You repeatedly questioned why we weren't being told where Charlie Kirk is buried. Did you get those answers?
You have the wrong commentator who questioned that.
You've never asked where Charlie's buried?
Nope. What about his burial? How come we haven't seen anything about his burial?
She has said Charlie's murder, quote, had to be approved by Charlie's friends, and then suggested those friends might have her murdered too for, quote, knowing.
I never said that. The decision was made to murder Charlie Kirk, a decision that very clearly had to be approved by Charlie's friends. Is this going to be the pathway forward? Are you going to start murdering more people in broad daylight for knowing? I never said that. I was totally in a cloud of grief. Okay, you remember I had to go away to Wyoming just to breathe. Like, what am I doing wrong here that I have to go away and cry for a long time and everyone else just kind of seemed giddy? That's the only way I can describe it, like giddy. That emotion shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't be possible, actually. I was in this aggrieved stage and I really didn't poke my head up until weeks later when I could stop crying about it every second. Charlie Kirk, my friend, is dead. First, this is fantastic that Preborn is doing this. I just want to remind you guys about Pure Talk. Also reminding you guys about American financing. Also reminding you guys about GNO land. Also telling you guys about Just Thrive. You can head over to our website, CandaceOwens.com. You can sign up, buy yourself a hat. I still haven't spoken to the press about Charlie Kirk, actually.
And it goes on and on and on. I don't understand, honestly. I don't understand how allegedly smart people fall for this. They just must not be as smart as they claim. But if you look at the comments under all this stuff, wow. It is insane. She filled a vacuum after his assassination. And I actually came across somebody on one of the platforms that said that he wasn't assassinated. I mean, this person actually said that assassination is only when heads of state get killed. That's the level of intelligence that we're dealing with these people, and they freely give her their money. It boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. But I didn't finish this point. If she was such a good friend to her, and if she was such a good friend to him and he was such a good friend to her, why is she working so hard to make sure that this guy goes free? And the only way it makes sense is if you are an evil, demonic wench. That's the only way any of this makes sense. The only way it makes sense. And her famous thing is she's just asking questions. Okay, asking questions is fine. And for people who don't or didn't buy the narrative that came out right after the fact, I get it. There were some things that when you first looked at it were like, what's that about? I get it. And there may still be some things that you don't particularly understand. I get it. Nobody's saying that you have to swallow the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker. But once the evidence starts to come out, if you just ignore the evidence, well, then you're no longer just asking questions. Because if you're asking questions, then presumably you're seeking truth. And when the evidence shows up and answers your questions, whether you like the answers or not, those are the answers. And just because you don't like the answers doesn't mean that you get to continue asking questions, and floating all of this ridiculous nonsense. And it's not just her. There are others. She's the most prominent one, obviously, because she was the closest to him. But there are others who are floating all kinds of other ridiculous theories. She's even now saying that Ben Shapiro was involved because his security team was in communication with Charlie Kirk's security team right after it happened, even though from what I gather, they use the same security firm. And so those guys know each other. They were probably saying, hey, be on the lookout because our principal just got shot. Maybe tighten the circle around Ben. Maybe that's what they were doing. I mean, these guys all know each other. And all of these conservative figures, they use the same firms. And a lot of the guys, from what I understand, contract between the firms. So they all know each other. So why wouldn't they be in communication? But that makes too much sense because it had to be Ben Shapiro was somehow involved in Charlie Kirk's murder. This is why I haven't really talked about it a whole lot, because it's just so exhausting and ridiculous. All right, let's move on. There was a few other things I had notes to talk about, but it's just ridiculous. All right, so there was. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this topic, but there had been a ceasefire with Iran that Iran decided they didn't want to be a part of anymore. And President Trump decided that enough was enough, and he decided he was no longer going to negotiate with these lunatics. I just came across that E. Jean Carroll clip that you've all seen, I'm sure. Iran, the Muslims, the regime, they can't be trusted. They are jihadists. They lie. It is their mission to lie to advance Islam. And so engaging in these ceasefire talks with anyone is just a means to an end. It's a means to regroup. It's a means to prolong the proceedings until they can get somebody more favorable to them. And I have been critical. I have been very critical of President Trump for engaging in this negotiation and ceasefire. I understand why he did it. I understand he's a negotiator. I understand he wants to he wants to make a deal. And my stance was always, you can't negotiate with these people. Negotiating with them is an exercise in futility. And President Trump has finally come to the realization that enough is enough. And I think he always knew that. I think he just wanted to give himself cover at this point. At least I hope that this was his thought process, that he wanted to give himself cover so that when he did have to go back in and lay waste to Iran, that he could say, yeah, we tried. I hope. And he did try. I will give him that. But I think at this point, it's now time to just finish the job. Finish the job. Take everything out. Last night, I believe there were 90 targets hit. Hit them all. Hit them all. Lay waste. Turn it into a parking lot. Seriously. Because that is the only way that we can ensure that this doesn't happen 5, 10, 20 years down the line. As long as there is a remnant of the regime, they're going to keep coming. They have been at this for 1,400 years. This is the definition of long game. The only way to end their long game is to end them. Period. End of story. And I hope that we continue to hit these targets and take out as many of as much of the leadership as we possibly can until some of the Iranian people can come in. And I know that's a difficult ask, but until they can come in and actually take control back. So we'll see. We will see where this goes. Another thing I wanted to talk about. Well, you know what? Before we, since we're on the subject, let's get into this. We stream this show from the great state of Arkansas. We used to be in Texas. Texas is allowing Islam to run rampant. And that wasn't the reason we left, but seeing what's happening in Texas is sad. I still have a lot of love for, I always did love Texas. I have a lot of love for Texas. They are allowing Islam, as I said, to run absolutely roughshod over Texas. And it seems that Arkansas is in the process of doing the same thing. Arkansas has allowed another Islamic entity to build a charter school, not a charter school, build an Islamic school, or build an Islamic compound, basically a 10-acre compound with mosques, schools, gyms, banquet halls, the whole shebang. And then not too far down the road is another one that I talked about on the show before, a 7-acre planned estate, I think, for Muslim people to buy houses. They're going to build Muslim housing there. And just like with Epic City, now the Meadow in Texas, you have to be a Muslim in order to buy a home there. And you have to comply with Sharia law and all of the rest of the stuff that's attendant to these Islamic enclaves. And this Islamic Center in Little Rock is linked to the Muslim Brotherhood, as is all of this stuff. All of this stuff is linked to and financed by the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE. And the fact that this is being allowed in Arkansas is deeply disturbing, especially considering, well, not especially considering, but it's curious, even more curious, considering who our governor is. Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Her father is the ambassador to Israel. They have an affinity for Israel. Islam, Muslims hate Israel, hate Jews. And we're just allowing them to establish a foothold in this state. And this is a small state. It's going to take a lot more in Texas. This is a small state. It won't take much. It won't take much. Right now, it's a 10-acre lot, a 10-acre plot of land west of Little Rock. It won't take many more of those. And the one of the more disturbing parts of this is that it's taxpayer funded. Taxpayer dollars are being funneled to this organization, a Muslim Brotherhood linked organization, to fund a full-time Islamic school, a school that teaches Sharia law in a compound that is going to be governed by Sharia law. The property that this school is going to be built on is in the name of the North American Islamic Trust, a Muslim Brotherhood affiliate. And the fundraising is being done by the Islamic Society of North America, also a Muslim Brotherhood affiliate. The imam in this, who's building this, was trained at Al-Azhar. Al-Azhar is a Muslim institution in Egypt that is also deeply connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. This is part, like I said, they're playing the long game. This is part of the Muslim Brotherhood's cultural jihad in this country. The school that's being built and the compound that's being built is going to have a Sharia dress code. They're going to be teaching the Quran, obviously. They're going to be prioritizing this stuff over assimilation into American society. This is not organic growth of a Muslim community. This is a deliberate, well-funded infrastructure. And we've seen this play out in places like Texas. We've seen it play out in Florida. We're seeing it play out right now in New York City. And they just elected a Muslim mayor. They just elected someone to the city council who said that we deserved 9/11. They just elected someone who believes that the United States needs to be taken down from within. And all of the DSA, whether they're Muslim or not, all of them believe that. And the Muslim Brotherhood, CARE, and these Islamic organizations are using that to their advantage. And I said that this was funded by taxpayer money. It is participating in the Voucher Learns program. It was approved to be able to participate in this program at the state level. That's why I do not understand why this was allowed. I don't know if it had to go through the governor or if it was just someone in her administration that approved it. But that can't stand. We can't let this continue. Because like I said, it's happening in Texas. Texas is a much bigger state, a much more populous state. It's going to take more in Texas. But Arkansas is a fifth of the size, if that, of Texas. A few 10-acre enclaves in Arkansas, and that's a recipe for disaster. And I mentioned that this was funded by and backed by the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is a designated terrorist organization, designated by Egypt, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. Several U.S. courts have, or several states have declared it a terrorist organization, a foreign terrorist organization. Its network, the Holy Land Foundation, is an unindicted co-conspirator in a terror financing trial of the Muslim Brotherhood. For some reason, we haven't designated federally a foreign terrorist organization. I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know what reasoning is behind the president and Marco Rubio not doing this yet. But the pattern is clear what they're doing. If you're paying attention, the pattern is obvious. They're doing everything they can to conquer the West. They have these parallel institutions. They tell us relentlessly every day that they're a superior ideology. I've played the videos ad nauseum on this show. And CARE is the same. CARE attacks critics as Islamophobes. They lobby against school security bills that actually protect kids. They push accommodations that erode separation between mosque and state. And Arkansas officials are partnering with these institutions that are just allowing this. And they whine relentlessly about Islamophobia. But they hate Christians, they hate Jews, they hate homosexuals, they hate dogs, they hate alcohol, they hate bacon, they hate Western civilization, they hate your culture, they hate your traditions, and they hate you. And they say that if we dislike them or even hate them, it's Islamophobia. It's not a phobia to dislike people or even hate people who want to kill you. I don't advocate for hate. I don't hate them. I pray for them. But there is absolutely nothing irrational about it. Nothing. And it's insane that we are dealing with this to the point where we're allowing them to gain these footholds and to gain these enclaves. It is the very definition of suicidal empathy. And I don't want to hear about freedom of religion and all that nonsense. The founding fathers could not have fathomed that we would be this stupid to allow the people who prompted the creation of our Navy to get this kind of foothold in this country. The thought couldn't possibly have ever crossed their minds. Yet here we are. They scream about Islamophobia, and they're building campuses like this one in Arkansas and like the ones in Texas and Florida and everywhere else. They're screaming and whining about Islamophobia, and that they're teaching their children and their cult members non-assimilation. They're teaching them to be separate. This is how enclaves become footholds. Little Rock edition. And we can't let that happen. I mean, look at what's going on in Europe. There was a woman who met some Muslim on some website, decided she wanted to be with him, moved to Ireland with her 13-year-old daughter. Not sure if they got married, but he ended up beating her to death. He beat her to death and then skipped to Turkey. We just had the guy in Ireland who tried to decapitate somebody. And we don't even have to talk about the rape gangs and all the rest of it. Look at what's going on in Dearborn, Michigan. The mayor of Dearborn told a Christian to get out. Told a Christian he was going to have a parade when he left. They renamed streets after terrorists. I don't want that in Arkansas. I don't want it anywhere. I want it gone. I want it out of Michigan. And just to go back to a recurring theme that I've talked about a lot, we're in this situation because Christians haven't stepped up. Christians have remained quiet. And I will never say it's too late, because the God we serve is all powerful. But we never should have let it reach this pitch. And I know a lot of people will say, we'll talk about freedom of religion and all that. But what's happening in these places like Texas and Florida, and now here in Arkansas and in Michigan, that's not welcoming and that's not inclusive. It's surrender. I know now that it's been approved, it's going to take some doing to undo, but it can be done. First thing is prayer, obviously, but then demand every ounce of accountability. Audit the vouchers. Scrutinize the financial ties. Scrutinize the banking. Prioritize assimilation and American values. Contact your state reps, regardless of where you're at, whether you're in Texas or Florida or here in Arkansas or Michigan or California, Nebraska, wherever you're at. Contact your state reps and let them know that you do not want this kind of nonsense in your state. Because we can't have this. Because we're Gen X, millennials, we're the older ones, but our children and grandchildren are going to have to deal with the ramifications of this. And if you're one of those people who just thinks, we're America, it'll be fine. Well, you'll see just how wrong you are. We have 1,400 years of history that tells us the exact opposite. All right, there's a couple other things I want to get to. I am not, more so now than I have been, but I am not, generally speaking, conspiratorial in my thinking. But we just saw Mitch McConnell in his, well, we haven't seen him for nearly a month. That's the problem. He's been in the hospital for almost a month now. And we don't know anything, or we didn't know anything. Now, he's 84 years old. He's served a long time, too long, in the Senate. And there were rumors started by Laura Loomer that he was brain dead. And once those rumors hit, it was almost immediate that his allies started talking about how they spoke to him for 15 minutes. They spoke to him. He's doing fine. He's sharp. They talked about Maine and Iran and all kinds of other stuff. Now, we wish him well. We pray for him. We're not wishing any ill on him. We pray for his healing, but this raises some serious issues, some serious questions. He was hospitalized mid-June, suffered a heart attack. They had to do advanced life support. And a couple of weeks ago, there were rumors that he had already passed away. Then we heard the rumors about the brain dead. His wife was in China, which is a whole other story. His wife is Elaine Chao, whose family owns business interests in China. I believe it's a shipping company. And I was one of these people who, when President Trump named her as transportation secretary in his first term, after looking into her a little bit, I thought that was a huge mistake, because I believe she is a CCP plant. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least if she was sent to get close to Mitch McConnell or any senator. I mean, look at Dianne Feinstein. Her driver for, I believe it was decades, definitely years, but someone who was very close to her was a CCP spy. And of course, there's Swalwell, and who knows how many others. So there's that side note. But yeah, we thought he was. There were rumors that he had passed away, and they just weren't letting us know. Laura Loomer reported that she had sources saying he was brain dead on life support. Then Scott Jennings came out with a tweet saying that he spoke to Mitch McConnell for almost 20 minutes, I think he said. John Thune spoke to him, said he's still recovering. Somebody else said he was fully engaged. Without actually seeing him, and I am a big fan, as we all know, of Scott Jennings. This is what fuels conspiratorial thinking. Because Scott Jennings is one of the people that a lot of conservatives will trust and believe what he says because he said it. I am more skeptical than that. Like I said, I'm a fan of Scott Jennings, but I'm not buying it. Especially when you consider all the other people that came out it was rapid fire. All these people saying that they spoke to him. Well, can somebody take a picture with him? Can somebody go interview him? But no, it's all these insiders saying that he's fine. That is that's a bit tough to swallow. That is a bit tough to swallow. And I don't know if, like I said, I hope he's doing well. I hope everything that they're saying is on the up and up. But I've been paying attention to this stuff for long enough to know that something doesn't smell right. Something is rotten in Denmark. And it's disappointing that it's coming from Scott Jennings, among others. From other people, you expect it. You expect it. But somebody who has shown themselves to be an honest broker. This is disappointing. And again, I could be wrong. He could very well be in good spirits. He could very well be as sharp as he can be. I mean, we all saw the glitches. We all saw him freeze numerous times. We all saw him fall. So he can only be but so sharp. But this is how this conspiratorial thinking spreads. And considering that he is 84 years old, he is the longest serving senator, I believe, in history, in U.S. history. This is why term limits are absolutely 100% necessary. Because we shouldn't have to deal with and be represented by senators who glitch when talking to the media. Someone said it looked like he was suffering a stroke when he glitched those times. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but it didn't look good. And so when you combine his age, his health, and other people like Nancy Pelosi and all the other career politicians that the founders never envisioned us to have, that's why term limits are absolutely 100% necessary. Again, prayers for Mitch McConnell and his family. He should be spending his sunset years with his grandchildren, with his family by his side. But so we pray for him and his healing if he's still with us. But we also need to pray for leaders who, if we're not going to have term limits, which, I mean, who's going to vote to limit their own power? That's just not going to happen. I'm not sure how that will happen, even though it needs to. But at least pray for leaders who will know when it's time to step aside and pass the torch. The founders did not envision this. I think if they had, they would have put something in the Constitution to make sure that this didn't happen. But public service shouldn't be a lifetime appointment, barring the Supreme Court, obviously, with these mysterious health blackouts. And we shouldn't have to watch our leaders deteriorate right in front of our eyes. Watching Dianne Feinstein decline like that as rapidly as she did was sad. As much as I disagreed with her on pretty much everything, it was still sad to watch. It's sad to watch what happened to Mitch McConnell. So prayers up for Mitch McConnell. Hope he makes a full recovery. Hope he gets to spend some time with his loved ones when he gets out of the hospital, if he's still with us, because we have a lot of people in his age bracket that are still there. We can't keep dealing with this. We got to do something about it. Anyway, folks, we are just about out of time. So that is going to do it for us here. I am Biggie, and you've been watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network. or you can catch our great lineup with my good friend Sackhead Sean with The Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. I'm not sure when he's going to be back, but I am confident that he will be soon. Same with Jersey Joe, the Reaver of Common Sense, every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I believe he will be back soon as well. And then we have BZ in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. The saloon is open tonight, although I think he's doing a little bit of a different show. I think it's the 403 Forbidden, if I'm not mistaken. So be sure to check that out tonight. I'm sure it's going to be a banger of a show. And then we have Lyle Armstrong, who was his guest on his last show with Beer and Bullstein every Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. There's still a question if he's going to be back this weekend. There are some things he has to work out. And if you were watching his show, BZ's show on Tuesday, you know that. But be sure and check him out as well. Like, subscribe, share all these great shows, and pray for us that we continue to break through. We're doing it. We're doing it slowly, but we're doing it. So pray for us that we continue that march. And that's going to do it for this briefing. So we're not just here to fill the ether with our bloviations. We are here to equip Christian men and spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope into the next generation. And if anything that we said here tonight resonated with you, please don't just watch, but share it. Share it with all the guys that you know. Bring them into the fight. And if you want to wear your convictions, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all of the great designs we have there, like this We the People t-shirt. All the designs we have there that talk about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And while you're there, check out the SHR shop. Just click on the SHR shop while you're at missionreadymen.com. And check out all the merch we have for the guys' shows, the mugs, the hoodies, the logo tees, all of it. Be sure to pick yourself up one. And we still have some of the 250 reasons to read source documents tees available. It is a limited edition. So if you still want to get one of those, please do so, because we are running out. But as always, remember that when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.